This video is a part 2 to the most common questions that vegans get. If you haven't seen my first video, I will link it in the description below. Why do humans have canines and the digestive system to eat meat? This is a common reason that people give to justify eating animals. But if you actually compare our anatomy to a carnivore, it's completely different. We have short, soft fingernails, and a carnivore has really sharp claws. We also have very small canine teeth compared to a carnivore. Carnivores have large canine teeth that gives them the ability to tear flesh. Carnivores also only have the ability to move their jaw up and down in order to tear chunks off their prey and to swallow them whole. Humans can move their jaw up and down or side to side. This allows them to grind up fruits and vegetables. Carnivores have an extremely acidic stomach acid in comparison to humans because they have to break down whole pieces of flesh. Carnivores have a short digestive tract in comparison to humans. This is because humans need time to absorb the fibrous food and absorb the nutrients. When we consume meat products, it actually putrefies in our intestine and causes diseases. This does not happen in carnivores. It doesn't matter if a carnivore is eating grain-fed, grass-fed, roadkill meat, they will never develop any colon cancer or digestive diseases, and yet that is one of the top killers for humans. Is a vegan diet nutritionally adequate? The American Dietetics Association states, appropriately planned vegetarian diets, including totally vegetarian or vegan diets, are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. Well-planned vegetarian diets are appropriate for individuals during all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, and adolescence, and for athletes. So obviously, if you adopt a vegan diet, it's important for you to do your research. Excellent resources are any plant-based doctors. My favorites are Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. John McDougall, and Dr. Neil Barnard. I think a lot of people who switch to a whole food plant-based diet are going to see immediate benefits, especially if they're coming from a standard American diet. Their intake of micronutrients is going to be dramatically increased. So one thing I would definitely do my research on is vitamins that you might need, B12 or vitamin D, for example. B12 is essential that everybody takes a B12 supplement. I talked about this in my first Q&A. Also vitamin D for some people who don't have access to sunshine, but just definitely do your research. There's so much information online or in books by these doctors. Don't we have the right to kill animals because we're smarter than them? Should we be given the right to slaughter other humans just because they're not as intelligent as us? Like children, people with disabilities, seniors who develop Alzheimer's. Think about if there was another, more intelligent species that populated the Earth, and they decided that because we're not intelligent, they want to farm us and slaughter us for food. Would we be okay with that just because we're not as intelligent as them? I'd like to read a quote from Gary Yourofsky. There's only one species on the planet that you can remove, and that removal would benefit every single thing that exists. That's us. Even if someone says, what do chickens do that's positive? Well, you know what? I'm not quite sure what they don't do. They don't destroy the planet. They live in harmony with the ecosystem, something we cannot figure out yet. But we've got the solution. It's simple. Be vegan. Why not advocate for people instead of animals? Veganism is actually a human rights issue. Currently, we are growing enough food to feed 10 billion people. But of the 7 billion people on this earth, about 1 billion are suffering from starvation. Most of the land that we're using to grow crops to feed to livestock are actually in developing countries where the rates of starvation are the highest. Instead of filtering the plants for the animals and wasting all those calories, why not just eat the plants directly? In my opinion, slaughterhouse workers are the forgotten victims of the meat industry. They're some of the most exploited workers on the entire planet, and most of them are undocumented citizens. The rate of injury is extremely high, and much of it goes undocumented with the fear of being deported or fired. The toxic air in these slaughterhouses often cause these workers to develop bronchitis. Slaughterhouse workers must meet the demand of the consumers. They are required to kill about one animal every 12 seconds. Can you imagine what that would do on someone's mental health? Rates of alcohol and drug abuse, domestic violence, and crime are extremely high among these people. Being a slaughterhouse worker is one of the most dangerous jobs, mentally and physically. Human rights also extends to our future generations. What we're doing to the planet is not fair to our kids and our grandkids. There are more greenhouse gas emissions from animal agriculture than all the transportation industries combined. Animals produce a lot more excrement than humans, and there's no processing plants for the sewage. Much of it is stored in lagoons or sprayed over fields. People living nearby are forced to inhale these toxins and pathogens. We are destroying the land on this earth. 91% of the rainforest has been destroyed due to animal agriculture. Commercial fishing practices are also destroying our oceans and marine ecosystems. Isn't eating meat a personal choice? In order for a choice to be entirely personal, all of the individuals affected by it or involved in it must give consent. As soon as you pay someone to take the life of someone on your behalf, the person taking the life and the person whose life is taken both become involved, so it no longer is a personal choice. Examples of personal choice: deciding to wear a blue shirt one day, or taking the bus instead of riding your bike. If you put yourself in the victim's shoes, would you respect the personal choice of someone to restrain you and slaughter you? Animals have the same desire to live as humans. Isn't being vegetarian enough? Most vegetarians cut out animal flesh because of the cruelty involved, but many of them are unaware of the atrocities that happen in the dairy and egg industries. The only reason why cows produce milk in the first place is because they had a baby, just like every single mammal. In factory farms, cows are put on a rape rack and are artificially inseminated. When their calf is born, the baby is stolen away so humans can take the milk instead of the baby. If the baby calf is a male, it is either killed or sent over to the cruel veal industry. If the baby is a female, it lives the same terrible life as the mother. After constantly being impregnated and milked in these confined spaces, the cows usually give out at a young age and are sent to the slaughterhouse for cheap meat. So when you buy things like milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, you're actually contributing to the meat industry. The egg industry also involves the exploitation of the female body. So when chicks are hatched, they are separated, males and females, and the males are completely useless to the egg industry. They are either ground up alive or suffocated. Like the calves, the female chicks have the same fate as their mothers. If you want to know more about dairy and eggs, I have already made 2 videos about these industries. Why can't I just switch to organic, free-range meat, dairy, and eggs? The USDA only has one criterion for free-range. Producers must demonstrate that their chickens have access to the outside. This outside could mean gravel, dirt, rocks, grass. There's no requirement for the duration of outside time for the chickens, and there's also no minimal standard for the care of the animals. Cows on organic farms are still kept in crowded sheds and they're artificially impregnated. They still have their babies taken away from them so we can take their milk. And there's also no antibiotics, so cases of infection are extremely high. On organic farms, debeaking, castration, and dehorning still happen, and all with no painkillers. These free-range animals are still sent on the same trucks to the same slaughterhouses as all the factory farm animals. Over 95% of the meat that's produced now is from factory farms, but if people were to switch to free-range farms, it would actually be worse for our environment. For example, a grain-fed cow uses 3 acres of land. A grass-fed cow uses 9 acres of land, 35% more water, and 500% more greenhouse gases. 45% of all the land on this earth is used for livestock and feed, which is why there's such thing as factory farms. We cannot sustain everybody eating an organic free-range diet. The best way you can help fight climate change and the destruction of our environment is to switch to a plant-based diet. Isn't a vegan diet expensive? Since going vegan, I have cut my grocery bill significantly. There are some specialty vegan products that are more expensive than the meat counterpart, but you have to remember that a lot of those meat products are subsidized, and the more that consumers are demanding these plant alternatives, the cheaper they will become. Also, you don't have to live on these fake meats and fake cheeses. They're excellent for people transitioning to a vegan diet, but the more you get into a whole food plant-based diet, the cheaper the diet is. The cheapest foods on the planet are rice, potatoes, beans, grains, fruits and veggies. Some ways that you can cut down on the cost of food is buying in bulk, buying seasonal, preparing your food at home. In my opinion, the best investment you can make is your health. So I wouldn't worry about your grocery bill if it's going to lead you to a more whole food, plant-based diet. It's going to save you money in the long run when you don't have to pay for medical bills and pharmaceuticals because you are protecting yourself from getting sick. So that sums up part 2 of the most common questions that vegans get. And I know that there are so many other questions, so I might make a part 3 video. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.